Welcome to The Revealer. Imagine waking up to a headline that shakes the world. Philippines, sitting on trillion-dollar oil and gas jackpot. Overnight, the nation is thrust into the global spotlight, its name echoing across newsrooms and boardrooms from New York to Riyadh. The world's attention is suddenly fixed on the archipelago, and every Filipino feels the ripple of possibility. Suddenly, the Philippines is being mentioned in the same breath as the world's energy giants, Saudi Arabia, Russia, the United States. International oil companies and investors scramble to understand what this means for the global energy landscape. The Philippines, once a minor player, is now a potential powerhouse. This isn't a wild fantasy or a speculative rumor. It's grounded in decades of painstaking geological surveys, seismic studies, and scientific data. Teams of experts have pored over maps, analyzed rock samples, and interpreted seismic waves, slowly piecing together the story hidden beneath the sea. Beneath the sparkling blue waters of the Philippine seas lies a fortune. Vast reserves of oil and natural gas that could transform the nation's destiny. These resources have the potential to fuel industries, power homes, and drive economic growth for generations. The financial markets react instantly. Stock prices surge, the peso strengthens, and analysts scramble to update their models. Investors from around the world are suddenly interested in Manila, eager to get a piece of the action. For a country that has long depended on imported oil to keep its economy running, the idea of possessing massive reserves at home is nothing short of revolutionary. It's a game changer that could rewrite the nation's economic story. For ordinary Filipinos, the news sparks a wave of hope and excitement. People dream of lower electricity bills, more job opportunities, and a stronger peso that stretches their hard-earned money further. The promise of prosperity feels closer than ever, but it's about more than just money. It's about energy independence, national pride, and the chance to chart a new course for the country. The Philippine flag flying over an oil facility becomes a symbol of self-reliance and unity. For decades, global oil prices have dictated the cost of living in the Philippines. Every spike in the market has meant higher transport fares, pricier goods, and tighter household budgets. The dream of breaking free from this cycle is now within reach. The promise of domestic resources offers a path to stability and self-sufficiency. Filipino engineers and workers are already envisioning new infrastructure, offshore platforms, pipelines, and refineries that could power the nation's future. This incredible story began quietly, with geologists mapping the seabed, deploying equipment, and drilling exploratory wells. Their dedication and expertise have brought the nation to the brink of a new era. Their findings point to a geological goldmine, especially in the resource-rich West Philippine Sea. The potential here is staggering, with vast, untapped reserves waiting to be developed. The scale of this discovery is immense, trillions of dollars in potential wealth. It's a sum that could fund schools, hospitals, infrastructure, and social programs, lifting millions out of poverty. But unlocking this treasure won't be easy. It means navigating complex geopolitics, attracting massive investment, and developing cutting-edge technology. The world is watching, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The journey to energy independence is just beginning. For the Philippines, this is more than a windfall. It's a chance to shape its own destiny and inspire a new generation with the promise of a brighter, more secure future. Unlike many of its Southeast Asian neighbors, the Philippines charted a unique economic path. Instead of relying on oil or natural gas, the country built its economy on the strength of its people, through services and remittances sent home by millions of overseas Filipino workers. This people-powered approach set the Philippines apart in a region where natural resources often dictate prosperity. While Malaysia and Indonesia grew wealthy by exporting oil and gas, the Philippines became a global hub for business process outsourcing, with call centers operating around the clock. At the same time, Filipino workers left for jobs abroad, sending billions of dollars back home each year. These remittances became a lifeline for families and a backbone for the national economy. This service-driven model made the country surprisingly resilient to some global shocks, but it also left the Philippines deeply dependent on imported fuel. Every day, tankers bring in oil to power cars, factories, and homes, energy the country cannot produce itself in sufficient quantities. Each year, billions of pesos flow out of the country to pay for foreign oil. That's money that could otherwise be invested in building new schools, improving hospitals, or upgrading roads and infrastructure, investments that would directly benefit Filipino families and future generations. In a region dominated by energy producers, the Philippines has long played the role of consumer, importing not just oil but also many other goods that fuel its growing economy. This dependence makes energy security a constant concern. When global oil prices spike or supply chains are disrupted, the effects are felt immediately, at the pump, in electricity bills, and even in city-wide blackouts. The country's vulnerability to these global shocks is a challenge that has persisted for decades. But now, there's a glimmer of hope. The recent discovery of vast oil and gas reserves off Philippine shores could be a game-changer, offering the possibility of energy independence for the first time in history. Imagine a future where the Philippines has its own energy champion, a homegrown company as influential as Malaysia's Petronas, driving growth, creating jobs, and keeping wealth within the country. The dream is bold, to transform from a nation of importers to one of exporters, to rewrite the Philippines' economic story, and to finally take control of its own energy destiny. The stakes have never been higher, and the potential rewards, greater prosperity, security, and national pride, are within reach for the first time in generations. The Philippines relies heavily on imported oil. Over 90% of its total supply comes from abroad. Every day, massive oil tankers dock at Philippine ports, bringing in the fuel that keeps the country running. This dependence is not just a statistic, it's a reality that shapes the nation's economy and daily life. Importing so much oil drains the country's precious foreign currency reserves, making the economy vulnerable to sudden global price swings. When oil prices rise on the world market, the Philippines feels the impact almost immediately, putting pressure on everything from government budgets to household expenses. Every spike in oil prices hits ordinary Filipinos hard. Jeepney drivers in Manila see their profits shrink, while fishermen in remote villages struggle to afford fuel for their boats. The cost of transportation and goods rises, affecting millions across the archipelago. Despite the high demand, domestic oil production remains tiny, just a fraction of what's needed to meet the country's needs. Local refineries and extraction sites can't keep up, leaving the nation dependent on imports. The Malampaya gas field has provided some relief, supplying natural gas for power generation and industry. But Malampaya's reserves are running low, and its output is expected to decline further in the coming years. This looming shortfall raises concerns about future energy security. Meanwhile, neighboring countries like Indonesia and Malaysia have successfully developed their own oil and gas industries. They not only meet their domestic needs but also export energy, strengthening their economies. The Philippines, on the other hand, spends billions of pesos every year importing what others export. This outflow of money could be invested at home, creating jobs and building infrastructure. Yet, beneath Philippine waters lies a vast, untapped reservoir of oil and gas. Advanced surveys and sonar scans suggest significant potential, waiting to be explored and developed. The challenge is clear: bridge the gap between this enormous potential and the current reality of dependence. Turning these resources into real energy and economic gains will require investment, technology, and political will. If the Philippines can develop its own energy resources, it could reverse the flow of capital, keeping money in the country and fueling national growth. New projects would mean more jobs, stronger industries, and greater self-reliance. Above the water, the country faces high costs and persistent trade deficits, but below the surface lies a hidden solution, one that could transform the nation's future. The task is urgent. Achieving energy independence is not just an economic goal, it's a national imperative that affects every Filipino's quality of life and the country's long-term stability. The future of the Philippines depends on unlocking the resources that lie beneath its seas. With determination and vision, the nation can turn potential into prosperity. The numbers are staggering. Reed Bank alone may hold over 5 billion barrels of oil and 55 trillion cubic feet of gas. That's many times the size of Malampaya and worth over $1 trillion at today's prices. This wealth could erase national debt, modernize infrastructure, and transform social services. The Sulu Sea and other basins add even more potential. Some estimates suggest the Philippines could be sitting on one of Asia's largest undiscovered energy troves. These are still estimates based on seismic surveys and modeling. Only drilling will confirm the true scale. But the data is compelling enough to attract global energy giants. The Philippines isn't resource poor, it's resource rich, waiting to unlock its fortune. The opportunity is generational. The question is, can the country seize it? Most of the Philippines' oil and gas lies offshore, hidden in places like Reed Bank, the crown jewel of its energy prospects. This supergiant field could make the country a major regional exporter. The Spratly Islands region, though disputed, also sits atop significant deposits. The Sulu Sea, less controversial, offers another promising frontier. Surveys suggest multiple large fields here, ready for development. Northwest Palawan already hosts the Malampaya project, with more discoveries possible. Other basins, Ragay Gulf, Visayan Sea, may hold smaller but valuable reserves. Each area adds to a diversified, resilient energy future. The challenge turning these sleeping giants into real power for the nation. The potential is vast, if the country can act. The Malampaya project proved the Philippines can develop world-class energy fields. For 2 decades, it's powered up to 30% of Luzon's electricity. Now, with reserves dwindling, attention turns to new opportunities. The Cadlao oil field near Palawan is being redeveloped, signaling renewed investor interest. The government is offering new exploration blocks and streamlining regulations to attract partners. Local companies are stepping up, building expertise and ambition. The focus is on creating a robust domestic industry, not just relying on foreign firms. These steps are laying the groundwork for a future energy boom. The momentum is building, quietly but steadily. The goal jobs, expertise, and national benefit. The awakening of the Philippines' energy sector has begun. The Philippines' energy potential isn't limited to disputed waters. Inland basins like Cagayan Valley and central Luzon show signs of oil and gas. Onshore discoveries would be cheaper and easier to develop, supplying power directly to key regions. In Mindanao, the Cotabato Basin could transform the local economy and support peace. Smaller offshore areas, Visayan Sea, Mindoro, also hold promise. Modern technology could reveal new prospects in overlooked regions. By exploring these frontiers, the country can build expertise and momentum. Every new discovery brings the dream of energy independence closer. The biggest obstacle is geopolitics, especially in the West Philippine Sea. China's sweeping claims and aggressive tactics have frozen exploration in the richest areas. Investors need stability, but the threat of conflict keeps them away. Even a legal victory at The Hague hasn't changed the reality on the water. Domestic debates over sovereignty and joint development add to the paralysis. Until the Philippines secures its rights and safety, its energy treasure will remain locked away. Despite the challenges, hope remains. Developing these resources could end fuel imports, strengthen the peso, and fund a new era of growth. Cheaper, stable energy would lift millions from poverty and create high-skilled jobs. Revenues could build a sovereign wealth fund for future generations. The path forward requires unity, smart diplomacy, and strong leadership. Focusing on undisputed areas can build momentum and expertise. Creative partnerships without sacrificing sovereignty may unlock contested resources. The Philippines stands at a crossroads, the chance to control its destiny and build a brighter future. The treasure is real. The challenge is to claim it for the nation's next generation.